Hello, and welcome back to Minardi Madness. The Final Four is here, and with that, we got some Sweet 16 and Elite 8 coverage. Let's get it started.
For the tie, off the rim, and it's over. This miracle run continues. Second and midcourt. Gives it to Jenkins for the championship. Love at midcourt, extra pass. And again, along with Sugar, they're the best free throw shooter. Clark in the stretch. The lob, and that will do it. Do you believe it? For just the second time ever.
All right, I got Smitty up here with me again today. Welcome back on the show, Smitty. Let's get right into it. Start by talking about just the insane shooting performance by Alabama. Obviously got cut off in the Elite 8, but versus BYU in the Sweet 16. What a shooting performance.
Yeah, what a game for Bama. They broke the record for most points, too, as well. They won 113 to 88. They were 25 for 51 as a team from three, which was great.
Yeah.
25 threes, that will win you the game in most games.
Yeah, I mean, I watched this game in person. It was the first game of the night, and, I mean, I was coming for the Duke game, but that was crazy to watch. That actually scared me a lot. As a Duke fan, seeing that and knowing we would have to play Alabama next. But 25 threes as a team was crazy, especially 113 points as well in a tournament game.
Yep.
And BYU's no slack, right? I don't even think they played that awful.
No.
They obviously they didn't shoot well from three.
Yeah.
But they didn't get out rebounded. They didn't get outworked. They just got completely owned from the 3-point line.
Yeah,
look at the stats.
Yeah, Mark Sears, he had 34 points. He was 10 for 16 from the 3-point line. Aiden Holloway had 23 points. He was 6 for 13 from the 3-point line. And then Chris Youngblood who, had 19 points, and he was 5 for 11 from the 3-point line. So just right there,
that's 21 threes.
That's 21 threes from those three players, and the guys coming off the bench probably had a few, and then also the other two starters that were in the game.
I mean, when I was watching, these guys were just chucking from everywhere. You probably saw in the highlights all the threes they made, but they were shooting some crazy shots. They were just feeling it.
Yeah.
And then for BYU, Richie Saunders, he had 25 points. Pretty efficient, 10 for 14. He's by far their best player. He played really good. He's been a leader. Definitely stood out for BYU. But solid season for BYU. New coach, Sweet 16. I wouldn't mind if I was a BYU fan.
Yeah.
And then obviously Bama did get taken down in the Elite 8 by Duke, 85 to 65. Honestly, Duke shattered my expectations. They're too big, too loaded as a team, very deep. Shut down Mark Sears, 6 points, 2 for 12. They did exactly what they needed.
Yeah, exactly. Especially Bama coming off that huge win. I thought they were going to be more.
I thought it would be close.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be more close, and they were definitely fired up. But I don't they just got shut down by Duke's great team. So
yeah, Mark Sears had 30 in that game, only 6 in this one.
Yep.
Couldn't shoot the ball at all.
Yeah,
so
and then
that was definitely the factor.
Yeah, for Duke, Colin Knippel had 21 points. Tyrese Proctor had 17, Cooper Flagg with 16, and then Maluch with 14. So just a great day for the Duke offense, and then also a great day.
They're connected very well.
Yeah, they all play well together. They've all been playing with or against each other since high school. So
yeah, top recruits.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we discussed Duke a little. Let's now move over to the other side of the bracket. Talk about Auburn, who has made their way to the Final Four.
So Auburn took down Michigan in the Sweet 16, or Michigan State, in the or no.
Michigan State in the Elite 8.
Michigan in the Elite, Michigan State in the Elite 8, Michigan in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
So back-to-back Michigan teams for them, but they took them down. No problem. Barome had 22 points. Todd Pettiford had 20, and then Denver Jones had 20 versus Michigan.
Yeah, obviously, Broome standing out. He's been outstanding all year, but Todd Pettiford and Denver Jones, I think they had very good games. For their guards for Auburn, especially Pettiford, hitting all sorts of tough shots. He's just a dog. And Denver Jones, he was flashy. Auburn definitely looking really good. People had some questions about them heading into the tournament with how they looked at the end of the year.
Yep.
But really looking like how they looked in their mid-year form, where they were basically unstoppable.
Yeah, and then in the Elite Eight against Michigan State, Brome had another 25 points. He was 10 for 13, but he left mid-game and came back. So at least he came back. That was
Yeah, I think
definitely Auburn fans were scared for a minute,
Yeah.
but
I think it just showed the type of player he was. He left the game. He was having a great game, 20 points. Came back and hit a 3. 10 for 13. Great game for him.
Yep.
Leading Auburn to the Final Four. All right. Let's talk about the other two Final Four teams. Let's start with Houston. Beat Purdue on that last-second bucket. Let's just talk about that inbound play. What a play to draw it up. Kelvin Sampson. It wasn't luck. They saw that Purdue was playing that sort of defense the whole time on the inbound play, and sort of got the ball in quick, came back, got that layup. I think that's just a great play.
yeah, that's
drawn up.
definitely great scenery, by the coach.
Yeah.
He definitely knows what was going on. He knows how it was a great just adapting to how they play. So great job by the coach on Houston. So
Yeah, and then next round, Tennessee, they absolutely shut down Tennessee to start the game. And I think that also, surprised me too. Tennessee looked great versus Kentucky, hard on defense the whole time. And then they come over, and it was like 30-5 or something like that to start the game. Houston, Tennessee's tough on defense, but Houston is just that much tougher.
yeah, Houston definitely has a great offense. But like you said, Tennessee's defense is a good D, but they just couldn't hold the Houston offense, with Sharp having 16 points and Sayer with 17 in a 69-50 win.
Yeah, big win for them. I know you were saying they were frauds last week, but
I
definitely
mean,
proved themselves.
they definitely did prove themselves. A lot of people thought that they were going to lose against Tennessee. It wasn't just me, but I thought
I could have seen it too. Did not expect that.
I definitely thought that Tennessee had it in them to beat them, but Houston did come up big.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Last team, all 1 seeds, Florida Gators. They make their way to the Final Four. So, all 1 seeds in the Final Four. Some people say it's boring, but personally, this is what I want to see. The 4 best teams going at it.
Yep.
I think that's just peak basketball at the end of March.
Yeah.
Now April.
I totally agree. Like, seeing the best of best basketball teams in the country. So we'll see what
Yeah.
happens here.
And then Florida, pretty convincing win versus Maryland, 87-71. It was close in the first half, but took over in the second. And versus Texas Tech, I honestly think they pulled off the impossible. I didn't watch the game, but I see Texas Tech up almost 10 with a few minutes left. And then I go ahead, check the box score, and somehow Florida pulled it off. I
Yep.
was able to watch it after.
Yeah, they were up
But
by
just
they
a
were up
choke job.
they were up by 10 and with very little time left, and Florida somehow comes back and wins it.
Yeah, I don't even know if you could say blew it. Walter Clayton, Thomas Howe, they took over. Clayton had 30, Howe had 20, 4 threes. They were definitely the star players of the game for Florida. I think obviously Clayton too just took over in the end. That clutch gene.
Definitely.
He hit big shots. He's been big time all year.
Yep.
But yeah, it's definitely, this is going to be a very interesting Final Four.
Yep.
Let's just talk about our predictions. I'm going to stick with what I had in the beginning of my bracket. I had Florida versus Duke. I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to stick with Duke for the championship. I think it's going to come down to Clayton versus Cooper Flagg. Obviously those are the 2 big names, but there are a ton of great players behind them.
Yep.
I think Duke is going to come out on top, but it's definitely going to be interesting.
I
to see
definitely
that
agree.
matchup.
I agree with the Duke, and I definitely agree with Florida in the national championship, and then with Duke coming out on top. So
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised with, Auburn, though. Don't like to say Houston, but they're great, too. I think Duke's going to be too much for them, though.
yeah,
But I think Auburn or Florida definitely will make
I think
the
I think
natty.
definitely Houston is the worst out of all 4 teams,
I would say so, yeah.
and then but definitely Duke is the number 1, and then it would probably go Auburn, and then Florida, and then Houston.
Yeah. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week on Minardi Madness. Stay tuned. We'll be talking about the Final Four and the national championship next week.